Welcome. It is so good to see you. My name is Dr. Amy Clymer. Can you guys hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, awesome. All right, we have an exciting day in store for you. We're super excited. I just want to start off before we get too deep to do a little bit of housekeeping. So first, find the chat. We'll definitely be using that. Have that open if you would like. And feel free to write questions as we go in there. Feel free to say hi to each other. But because it can get a little busy in there, write questions or question in all caps before a question so we can easily find those. And by the way, if you would like captions on to fully participate in this presentation, select the CC button to turn on subtitles. That should be all set up for you. We will be opening breakout rooms. So you'll have an opportunity to meet some other people. So just be prepared for that. If you don't have on makeup on, that's okay. We love you anyway. If you haven't gotten the note from the chat, update your name. We'd love to see, well, your real name or, whatever name you want us to call you. And put your location. Where are you in the world? My guess is we have some people from all over the world here. So go ahead and put that in there. Let's see who we got. All right, got a few people slowly coming in, putting their names in there. By the way, if you're on a phone, then you might not be able to update your name or interact in the chat as easily, especially if you're calling on the phone, obviously. And it may be worthwhile if you're able to join with an actual computer, that might be worthwhile. If you're on the phone, if you go and you're calling in and you get into a breakout room, you can mute or unmute by pressing *6 if you're just using the phone call for that. Anyway, we just encourage you to be an engaged audience today. Those of you who know Robbie know that this is going to be lots of stuff happening. All right. Before we bring Robbie in, we are going to jump into breakout rooms in just a moment. I just want to take a quick look at the chat, though. We got people from Boston, Rhode Island, Alberta, Canada, California, New Jersey, Nova Scotia, love it. Austin, Texas, San Jose. We've got a lot of Canadians here. Spain. I always get so excited when there's people from all over the country or all over the world, because I just think this is the coolest thing about Zoom. It's one of the nice things we get. All right. So here's what we're going to do. First thing is I want you to start thinking about this question. What is a change you want to make in your virtual programs? Don't put it in the chat. Just want you to think about that. And I'm going to give you some directions on what to do with your thought. I'm assuming you're here because you want to continue to improve your virtual programs. So in a moment, we're going to put a link in the chat for you to go to. And when you do, let me show you what you're going to see. We're going to use a tool that I created called Virtual Climber Cards. And when you get that link, you will go here. And you'll see at the top of the screen, the question, select a card that represents a goal you have for your virtual sessions. And you'll scroll through, there's about 50 different cards in here, and click on the card that best represents that goal you have for your virtual sessions. So it's not about picking your favorite card, it's the card that is a symbol or a metaphor for that particular goal. Put in your name, first name is fine, first and last, it doesn't matter. And then a sentence about why you chose that card and hit create response. Once you create your response, you'll be able to see everyone else's response. And once we have more responses, I'll give you the next set of directions. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put that link in the chat. And I'm also going to put it up on screen. This is a case where if you would prefer to use your if you prefer to use your phone, a separate device, you can do that. So there's a QR code and there's a link in the chat. You can do this either way. All right, the link is in the chat. Those of you on video, give me a thumbs up if it looks like things are working. Awesome. I love seeing that. I always get a little nervous with the technology, Let me just clarify the directions one more time. Great question. So you don't have to, all you have to do is when you click on the link, you're going to see all of these images here. And when you click on an image, you type in your name and then your response and hit create response. That's it. You don't have to put anything in the chat. You can ignore the chat other than being able to click on that link. And then you'll start seeing a bunch of people's responses, which they're already coming in. I love it. All right, keep them coming. I'm gonna give you another set of directions in just a moment. All right, we are going to send you into breakout rooms in a moment. You can have 3 people in that room, and each of you will share, take about 90 seconds to share which image you selected and why. So how does that image relate to the goal you have to improve your virtual programs? And take about 90 seconds. And 90 seconds meaning 1, don't go too long, obviously, but 2, fill that 90 seconds and go into enough depth there that you can speak for a full 90 seconds. And then you can pay attention to that Zoom timer in the top corner of your screen. And we're going to say that the person with the longest hair goes first. All right, next, you guys, you can open up the breakout rooms, Robbie. We'll see you in 6 minutes. Think about how did using these images, using climber cards, how did that did climber cards, the images we just used, impact or change your conversation? And go ahead and open up the chat if you don't have it open and put that in the chat. So again, in what ways did using climber cards change your conversation? So not necessarily what you talked about, but thinking about how did that deck of cards have an impact on your conversation? I think we have a few more people still popping back in.
I love seeing this. And Amy, thank you. I love everything you do. What a cool way to open this up, folks. Giving people a chance to really ground themselves on their own purpose for why they're trying to elevate their Zoom game or their virtual presentation game, and centering that, because I think that's important. We all have to center, why is it important for us to learn this information and gather this detail? So Amy, thank you so much. I love seeing everything that put it in chat. And folks, I'm going to share in chat, before I forget, information on how you can access climber cards to check it out and try it out yourself. And Pay, if you can grab that link, because I know people are going to ask for that again later. But you can get a free trial for 30 days, and then she's offering you 10% off if you decide to purchase them ongoing. Amy, they're available as both virtual cards and also physical cards, is right. So if folks are doing this in person, they can visit as well. I don't need a big introduction. I'm Robbie, and you all know that, and that's why you're here. I'm thrilled. There's 81 people currently here. We had over 100 that registered. That's pretty good odds for y'all showing up. I wanted to take a moment and thank a lot of people for everything that's happened, and to give you a little bit of an update. As you might imagine, I have been working and reworking the button that tells me what the Amazon rating is. So I'm constantly refreshing that. I think I may have even broken that button in the process of doing that. So let's just do a real refresh and see what it is right now. Wow. Okay. So with all of your help, there are 163 people who have submitted a review on Amazon, which is very incredible. But I know that we're going to double that number. I know we're going to double that number because there are 620 people on the launch team, and more than half of you will in the end follow through. And many of you got reminded by seeing today's events, and then you were telling me, oh, I'm in the middle of it. So thank you so much. I know there were a lot of questions about how I ran this event and how I ran the launch. I'm going to be sharing all of that during a debrief, which anyone who's on the launch team will be invited to. So if you're curious about more of the behind the scenes, I'm seeing, and there's more reviews probably in that have not been posted yet too. That happens all the time. There's a bit of a delay. So 2 links that I'm going to share with you in chat in case you don't have them. Thank you, Sylvia. I look forward to reading it. You can get the ebook for $2.99 or buy the paperback if you'd like to flip through. And by the way, it's here. It exists. They call this a proof copy. And to me, it's proof that I really wrote a book. It really is a book, and it really exists in the world. So I'm so excited, and I've got a lot of them to ship out, including two signed. These are proof copies. I'm going to sign 2 proof copies and give them away on the prize wheel later during this program. This program, by the way, goes till 1:45 Eastern, and I am going to be providing the replay link. I know that was a question that came up earlier. Paya here is in the room. Paya is my assistant, and she is keeping an eye on the chat, and she's going to copy those questions and who's asking them into separate documents. If you do have a question, if you could write the word question in all caps in front of it, it just make it easier for her to spot it. And I've got you all know now the secret that you can increase the font size of your chat. I think I have mine at 150% here. So, so thank you very much. Now, a couple of things. There are so many people I want to thank. I'm not going to read a list of 620 names. That will not be interesting, but I will call your attention to the back of the book, to the acknowledgement section, because in the acknowledgement section, you may not realize it. I may have mentioned your name. So go find that section. Here we go. So it is on page 286 of the book. I acknowledge all of the regular attendees. In 2020, I started hosting the No More Bad Zoom virtual happy hour, and I went through and I found all the people who came regularly throughout 2020. We even celebrated Christmas and New Year's together in 2020 because they landed on a Friday and no one else had plans anyway. So we might as well get together. I acknowledge the people who went through the first 5% Advantage program pilot, and I as well acknowledge all the people who became certified virtual event professionals through that program. And the list of, I keep forgetting the number, but it's like 30 something or 40 something countries that have been represented by people who have signed up for and attended No More Bad Zoom. So I even learned about a new country that I didn't actually know about. So it was a lesson for me as well. So I hope that you get your hands on this and you flip to the back and read the acknowledgements. Those are a lot of hardworking people. And a lot of what they did was they showed up just like you did today. And them showing up in 2020 is what helped me realize that I actually had something to offer. And I'm going to be doing an interview with Gina in a few minutes, where I'll share a little bit more behind the scenes about the book and why it was written and all of that. But I want to put in here some links to posts that I put in to LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook yesterday. And Pay, if you can grab that as well to repeat that a few more times. Or if you want to do your own swipe copy. But if you could help promote and push that out, like, comment, and or share. 39 people shared my LinkedIn post yesterday, and I went through and was trying to like and write comments, and they don't make it easy to do that. But I'm so grateful, and I've took note of who those people are, and I want to do a special thank you to those folks. But you all made this a thing. And I invited you to. So part of what we're going to learn when I talk about the debrief is how do you invite people to participate in something and get them so excited about it? So I don't actually want to take a ton of airtime. I really want to pass things over. So I'm gonna move the agenda up a little bit, Sophie, and you're on deck now. So we're going to hear from 3 people in a moment. They're each, in one way or another, played a big role in 2020 in my life and in each other's lives, actually. And so they're going to share a little bit of their experience of being part of my community all these years. And then we're going to do an interview with Gina. She'll interview me. We'll do a photo, so you'll have a chance to sit up and look at the camera, and we'll do all that. We're going to then give you a chance to queue up. So if you do want to say something about the book, you will have an opportunity to. We're going to get to that in the latter half of this. And so think about if you want to be one of those people. We're going to actually invite you to use the raised hand function then and queue up to share what your biggest aha or takeaway or something you're going to do differently because of the book. We'd love to hear a smattering of people's reactions to the book, whether you are a very seasoned Zoom user or a sort of more novice new Zoom user. I think people have gotten such a range of experiences from this. Amy, I put your review in the email isn't out today because Amy Clymer is a phenomenal facilitator and presenter, both virtually and in person. I have such high regard for the work that she does in the world, and for her to find value in this book and want to be here today to help with this program is a deep honor for me. And I'm very excited we're able to showcase Climber cards. We're going to do one more Climber cards exercise at the end. And so, all right, with that, here's the reason I invited Sophie. So Sophie actually just forwarded me an email from March 13th, 2020 at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. I sent her an email that said, I'm hosting something today at 5. Do you want to come? No sales pitch, no gimmicks, just gathering my community together. Would love you to come. And if you can't make it, I'm going to do more of these. I'll give you more notice next time. And Sophie showed up. And then last Friday, Sophie's still here. Sophie is still hanging out with us on Fridays. She's part of the Content and Connection Club. Content and Connection Club is something I started about a year ago. It is a community of people who meets every Friday, and not just the first Friday of the month when I do No More Bad Zoom, but for $25 a month, they get to come, and we build community as entrepreneurs, and we support each other. We do a bit of a mastermind. And so I'll put the link to that information in as well. Sophie, without any further delay, share a little bit about your experience. Thank you so much for being here, Sophie.
You're welcome. I'm very excited to be here. So I want us to just take a journey through time real quick. Remember March 2020, like the kind of feelings that were going through our minds, like the kinds of things we were thinking. It was like disbelief, right? Like everything stopped. The streets are empty. How are we going to get food? How are we going to grow our business? Where are we going to find clients? Like this major anxiety and disbelief was really a pall on all of us. And in the middle of this, where we're all wondering what to do, I mean, Robbie's business was that, in-person meetings. I was getting ready to do a tour in Europe and do talks. And so all of that is falling apart. And in the midst of this, here's this email, happy hour. Like what nut does that, right? So Robbie's here inviting us for happy hour. I'm like, yes, I'm in. And that was the beginning of, I think, when we were noticing that we needed community. I mean, we all had community, maybe a little bit in our life, but in March 2020, there was suddenly this very severe need for community. And Robbie was there immediately with that. And it was a phenomenal meeting. We met, we had fun, we exchanged all the horrified feelings we had for what was going on. And we started to learn about Zoom. And what that brings in to the forefront is that there are two kinds of people. We're all in survival mode. And some of us just shut down and continued to panic. And some of us went out and said, what can I do? There's got to be something I can do. Whatever it is that I have, I can share. And Robbie did that with these meetings and many other things. I did that with offering LinkedIn sessions because that was kind of something I knew how to do. And I thought maybe people could use it. So I offered that for free. And all of us kind of, there was that point where we were making masks, remember? Like we were like sewing masks because there was this shortage, right? So everybody was trying to do things, but there's really two kinds of people. And I want to give Robbie a lot of credit for being right there on the forefront in the first few days. And I want to say those meetings were amazing because we were doing networking, we were meeting other people, we had this community. And, over time, I felt like I had learned enough about Zoom and, life takes its own precedence. And so I kind of only came once in a while for maybe a year. And then something interesting happened when I saw the Content and Connection Club. And I noticed this in my mind that all of you can maybe learn from is there was this thing that was offered that I could do anytime I wanted, and I was not going anymore. And then all of a sudden, when I had a chance to sign up for something that was paid, mind you, not a lot, but all of a sudden I recommitted, and I've been coming ever since, October 2022 when it launched. And I find that an interesting, mechanism that kind of goes on in our head. So anyway, I've been coming ever since. I think it's just amazing. We have networking, we have we learn from each other. It's just, there's so much value, and there's a lot more business value now with masterminding and all of that. And I just love the journey of how Robbie created a business out of this generosity initially. And I've done the same thing. I'm very fortunate. I created a business out of these first few experiences. So thank you so much, Robbie.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And I'm so glad that, I didn't think how much we were going to talk about Content and Connection Club during the launch today, but I know that we had waning numbers because in 2020, no one really had any other plans. And a Friday night was just any other day of the week. But then 2021, the world starts opening up. And so I saw the number of people participating going down, but now we've got this core group and growing group of people who come, and we've really built some intentional community together. So thank you for coming back and being a part of that and for being here tonight. All right, now I'm going to invite Dorothy Wilhelm. So Dorothy has a lot of claims to fame. Here's the one I want to share. At 86 years old, Dorothy met me when I did a training on how to use Zoom effectively as a speaker. And she's a 40-year history of being a speaker. And she thought, I need to learn more about how to use this Zoom thing. This is 2020, early in the pandemic. She comes and signs up for my 5% Advantage program and becomes certified as a virtual event professional, hashtag no more bad Zoom, at the age of 86. And she'll tell you what she ended up doing with that. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you. And it's all true. I have often wondered, Robbie, when you read your kids' bedtime stories, do you admit to being the Pied Piper? Because, none of these people, we wouldn't be here without you. I'd probably be in the bathroom. That's where I spend most of my time. But no, you have brought me out into the real world. And, I would not have known about you at all. I had come to the point, as you say, at 86, where my career looked like after 40 really successful years, I was starting to investigate senior living facilities, believe it or not. And then all of a sudden, I heard you on Rebecca Morgan's SpeakerNet News, and I really had nothing better to do. So, I really had nothing better to do. So I watched you, and you seemed like, I don't know how to explain this, you seemed like maybe you knew what you were talking about. And you talked about being a certified virtual event planner. And everybody has always said that I should be certified. And so I immediately signed up for your program. And immediately doors and windows opened everywhere and fresh air came rushing in. Oh, good, I can still breathe, thank God. But my support hose are so tight, you never know. But one thing that I really loved about training with Robbie, now this is because this has gone on 3 years, believe this or not, I am at a better place in my career than I have ever been. I can no longer travel all over the world, and kids, I no longer need to. See, he makes everything so doable. I learn slowly. I have to do things over and over and over. And yes, people have always said I'm certifiable, James, that's right. Now, here's a funny thing. If you're almost 90, because you figure I was 86, and you can say you're a certified virtual event planner, they go back to hiring you. See, when I was just floating around in the world, they thought I'd probably be dead by the next conference. And so I wasn't getting any bookings. I am double booked some days. I'm double booked today. How do you like that? Oh, good. See, I am excited about this, no kidding, because what Robbie has is the ability to see things in a different way. For instance, just let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm a great grandma, I'm doing several podcasts and virtual event casts. My favorite 3 are, I do watercolor in the world with South African genius artist Chris Reed. Now, what do you think were my chances of hanging out with a genius artist in the past? Not that much. Next, another one that I like is the Book Doctors. Robbie was on the Book Doctors with me last Monday, and if you were really nice about it, I could get you a copy of the show. But my really favorite one that Robbie, I couldn't do this without you, coffee, chat, and change the world. And everybody says, well, have you changed the world yet? And I say, yeah, we're talking about it. We meet people, wonderful people doing wonderful things from all over the world. At the beginning of Robbie's book, now, Robbie, don't kill this. We're coming up on 4 minutes, but this is the big finish. Robbie says it best in Break Out of Boredom. He says, we must reimagine the possibilities. That's what he has taught me. And people tell you, you can't tell me much. And I'll close with the quote from anthropologist Margaret Mead, which begins Break Out of Boredom. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, that's the only thing that ever has. And we who have worked with Robbie in the last 3 years know that, believe it, because we have seen it in action. Robbie, thank you so much.
I'm so verklempt. Oh my gosh. Dorothy, your story, as many have said in chat, is incredibly inspiring. We all want to be you. Well, I definitely want to be you when I grow up. It gives me such an idea that there is more me to be had, that the idea that I have another 40, 50 years of giving and showing up, and you still do too. I love that. I love how much you've inspired us. And I love that quote. Thank you for bringing that quote into this group. I'm going to now introduce one of your closest friends that you've met through all this program. Gina is going to get brought up. Gina Carey is a bit of a character, and you can't help but know who she is, because every event she shows up on, even as a participant, she brings so much life and energy into the room. And it was one of the things that I first started to appreciate before I got to know her as a person and had a chance to really speak with her and even know what she did for a business. I knew that as the person here who's like trying to, bring an event together and have people show up and feel good about it, she was always there, showing up, dancing to the music. You'll see her flip chart. She always writing things on the flip chart, holding up her smiley face, just bringing, again, muted and still bringing all the energy that as a presenter you really need. Now I'm going to do one step further, and I'm going to actually give her a chance on mic, which brings even more passion into the room. Gina, please join us.
Holy cow. How come you put me after Dorothy? I'm trying here. She's so well-spoken. Although I must say, I have learned a lot from Dorothy. And Dorothy would not be in my life if it weren't for Robbie.
That's right.
Now, Robbie, I was looking actually just now at my emails. And before you were even at RobbieSamuels.com, I connected with you in 2018 after I heard you on the Profit First podcast. And I was just blowing my mind. So I reached out, and I had just started my business in 2017. I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember emailing and saying, oh, get to know me. And would you be interested? And could I meet with you? And Robbie responded. And I remember back in 2018 thinking, oh, somebody famous is going to listen to me and talk to me. And this is back when he had a big boom mic, and he was in a little soundproof room, and Robbie listened. He listened to all my problems as a new business owner. And he gave me such great advice back then. Now, time flew, lots of things happened, and here we go, roundabout. I don't even know. I must have been on a list, and I got a link, and I joined the happy hour during the pandemic, and it changed my life, because all of a sudden, from the comfort of my home, I was able to connect with people around the world. And as a small town little farm girl from Ohio who didn't do much traveling and never connected with people like this, it was a dream. And we had predictable and unpredictable fun at the happy hours. And one of the things I loved about the weekly consistent showing up is that I always came to those sessions wanting, like Paul Harvey, to hear the rest of the story. You see, because everybody was able to share a win, something that's happening in their lives. And whether or not we knew what Robbie was doing, he was creating and weaving all of these relationships. And as a result, Dorothy and I do a monthly show, the Coffee Chat and Change the World, the Book Doctors. We've been doing that now for 2 years. And another friend of mine, we created a webinar together, and we have taught together. She's in Cambridge and I'm in Michigan. And one of the most fabulous things, and I don't even think you know this, Robbie, is that tomorrow I leave for Cabo with my friend Erica, who I have been working with because of Robbie. And ultimately, Robbie, this is my very first vacation with a friend ever. And all of that, there's just the ripple effect, just like Dorothy was saying, like the exponential effect of what you've created certainly has blown us out of boredom and has given us much to think about in our personal and professional lives. And we are forever grateful.
Oh my gosh, Gina, you know, I've hosted many events over my lifetime. I feel like this No More Bad Zoom virtual happy hour is where I've heard the most feedback about the connections people have been making. And I think partly it's because it's really easy to keep coming back. Even if you don't come back every time, you can kind of weave back in. And I'm hearing all these amazing connections. I don't know anyone else. Please let me know if there's anyone else who's going on vacation with somebody that they met through our community. That's profound. Congratulations on going on vacation. You deserve a vacation. Everybody here, look ahead and make sure you've marked all the holidays and at least 3 weeks vacation for the year. If you haven't done that yet, time to do that now. All right, Gina, you've got some questions for me. We've still got time to get through them. Let's see how many we can get through. And before we will invite people to queue up and ask and share some of their takeaways from the book. So what do you want to know, Gina? I know you had some things you lined up.
Well, the first thing is, what is the significance of this book coming out now when people are going back to work and in person? What's the significance of Break Out of Boredom now?
So funny you asked that, because my dad, he sort of said, wait, your book's about Zoom, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, but everybody knows, but everyone's back at work, you know? And I get it. Like, if he knows how to get on Zoom, then everyone knows how to get on Zoom. Like, the world knows how to get on Zoom, but that's not the same thing as people who are speaking, facilitating, hosting, holding space, creating transformative experiences, creating inclusive meetings, you know, creating productive meetings. That's what we're missing. And I feel like 3 years in, not just Zoom, but virtual period is not going away, whatever platform you're using. Right. So the principles in this book, and I am so excited to have a physical book to hold up, the principles of purpose first design and the facilitation techniques, by the way, apply to in-person as well. I met with someone this morning for an hour. I think she's actually here, where half the call we talked about a virtual program she has coming up, and the other half we did strategy for an in-person. And so much of it is the same thing. Let's go back to the purpose first design piece. And now let's talk about some facilitation. And of course, there's differences, things you would do in person versus in a virtual program. So I'm taking everything I've known in my event, you know, design, event planning, event strategy world, and applying it to the virtual. But ultimately, there's twofold. Of course, I want more clients. There's lots of ways you can work with me, folks, from 1 hour, like she did this morning, to a full week of virtual programming. But the real underscore thing here is I need everybody to get better at how they use Zoom or whatever virtual program you use. So I'm going to keep saying Zoom because it's kind of like Kleenex, because that's how we elevate meaning. That's how we build community and connection. That's how we share knowledge. And so whether you use this yourself DIY or you work with me, it's still, let's all impact the world in a bigger way.
Wonderful. And how did you by the way, write 2 books during the pandemic when most of us are coming out of it still like making sure we're wearing pants.
When I saw that question ahead of time, I was like, I did write 2 books in the pandemic. So this was my second book. So folks don't know, my first book came out in 2017. It's about networking at conferences. And Paya, if you can put croissants versus bagels .com and then smallestbigresults.com in the chat. And so I wrote those books. And then, what happened with this book is that a year ago in February, a publisher reached out to me. They found me on LinkedIn. So I was doing good, content, I guess, strategy. And they wanted me to write a book about Zoom. And I started working on a book proposal, and we met on and off from February to May when it became apparent that they wanted me to write about Zoom in the context of workspace and workplaces. I don't do that. I don't work in a workplace. I don't know the in-person Zoom room, the one that's like, by the way, if you're an entrepreneur, you may not even know this exists, but there's rooms that are tricked out with like the ability to like integrate physical people with virtual. I don't know how to use team chat, which is basically like an instant messaging service. I don't know. So I had to sort of decline that opportunity, but of course it got the wheels turning. Well, then Pay is at fault. So we're going to blame all of this on Paya Robbins, my virtual assistant since February of 2020. And she wants the credit. I will give her the credit. By June, she was basically saying, you have the book. You've already created so much content. I had created like 70 videos. Like I had so much content. I had been producing shows for 2 years. So I sort of thought about it in June, committed to it, and in the fall started working on it. And it's a lot of work. She'll tell you also it was not easy. I wrote 25,000 words by the end of the year. And that was about what I thought it was going to be, 25, 30, 35,000 words. I wrote 35,000 plus additional words in January while my formatter and my editor were working on the copy that was already out there. It was a lot to meet this deadline of March 13th, which I'm the one who set the deadline. So I'm the reason it was so hectic. But yesterday was the 3-year anniversary, and I wanted to use that as a reason to get it done. And I don't think I would have gotten it done if I had dragged it out. So yeah. So thank you,
Good for you. Good for you. And thank you, Paya. You're amazing.
And I want to actually give a couple other shout outs. So Linda Popke is my editor. Jean Schreiber was my formatter. There's another person on her team that did my ebook formatting. Linda's is the second time I've worked with her. She's a great editor. And I also want to thank Christopher Johnson and James Bogey. I think they're both here on the call. They did a technical review of the book because they're both trained and certified virtual event professionals. And so, I need to make sure that all the lefts and rights were correct. That's a little different than my other books. So I really, really appreciate them doing that. And then of course, Paya keeping the rest of my business humming, which is really important. I still have a lot of other things going on with like my podcasts, my clients and all of that. So that was sort of the team behind all of this time around.
On a side note, I want to also tell you that when I did meet Christopher Johnson in person and we hugged around the neck in Detroit, it felt like I was hugging my best friend. So another example of how this really develops. And he's so tall. He's taller than I imagined. It's usually the opposite. Everybody's shorter than I actually imagine. So, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, Robbie. And those examples of the virtual backgrounds had me laughing out loud. They are so funny. What is one of the most distracting things you've seen on someone's virtual background choice?
So this kind of thing is pretty distracting when you've got things coming out of your head. I would say that's probably one of them. Because really what this also, did anyone see what's wrong with this picture? I didn't notice it at first. This is actually a screenshot of a video where I was talking about backgrounds and I was like, this is a pretty good one. And then I saw it after and was like, oops, Dumbo ears. So you really want something like this if you're going to do a virtual background. I think the most distracting thing though is the moving backgrounds. Like the very calm beach, I think is kind of okay, just like with the palm tree. But people who have things like moving across and like lots of video on their slides or on their like, I'm not a highly sensitive person, but I have now worked with a number of people who are, and learned for a variety of reasons, neurodiversity, traumatic brain injury, people who get migraines from having that kind of, it doesn't even have to be like the photo light. It could just be lots of movement. I don't put anyone in a bed for 3 days. So I've learned to kind of calm down. I feel it reminds me a little bit of my first efforts to make a websites in 99, GeoCities. I don't know, I'm aging myself, but you learn that you can make all these GIFs. I don't know if we call them GIFs back then. And every page had GIFs. Even pages that were under construction had a little GIF of a guy under construction sign with a little thing. So gosh, to think about now, like that's nauseating. So I think preferably you have either a great physical background, hashtag homeowner. I was able to put in a wood paneled wall. I'm very happy to be in a stable place. Or you have a virtual background that is not distracting or blurring your background, I guess is the other option. Yeah.
Terrific. Those are great examples. You've got to see them, people, if you haven't. So you know what? Writing about tech is really risky. I remember when I was learning about it at UNC Chapel Hill in my graduate studies, and when they clunked down the magazine that was filled with all the assistive tech, somebody said, that's already obsolete. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm out. I can't do this. So what aspects of your book do you believe will always be relevant?
That was daunting. I wrote about that in the preface that, as I was writing, things were changing. So right now, by the way, everyone has 100 breakout rooms. They had talked about that being released, and then they decided they couldn't release it. So I had to write the book where I mentioned both 50 and 100. And then of course, now as of today, like everyone has it. So here's the thing that doesn't change. Purpose first design, which is where you think about where people are coming from as they are coming into your room, or what are they thinking, feeling, and or doing as they come into your program. And at the end of their time with you, now what are they going to be thinking, feeling, and or doing? And that in between is the transformation that you're aiming for. That's your objectives. So that's something I think every meeting, by the way, if you can't come up with a good reason to meet, then it's an email. That's just right. Skip it. Yep. The other thing I think is really key is quality facilitation. Again, regardless of what platform or in person, understanding how to hold space, how to do the on deck so people know who's gonna go next, how to design breakout rooms so that people make the most of them. And then the last thing I would say is you've got to know whatever platform you're using. So while the specifics may change, even for Zoom, I provided a ton of links in the back of the book. And I know you can't click on these links. So if you opt in to the bonus content, I actually provided a PDF that has all of those links so you can just click through them. Zoom's really good about keeping the same URL and updating the content on that URL. So even though the content may change, the link will still bring you to the most current information. So you can keep learning and growing. I think that passion of getting 5% better every time you Zoom is something to take from the book, and then you'll just figure it out if things change a year or 2 years from now, or tomorrow, honestly.
I love the way you talk about holding space. We really haven't heard that from a lot of people. And my guess is there's something about your background in social work that may have contributed to how you run an event. How does that play a role?
No one ever talks to me about my MSW. I have a master's in social work. It's out there on my LinkedIn, and it got me the ability to teach at a university at one point. I taught for a few years a course on community organizing because someone noticed I had that degree. I actually did I did not do micro social work, which is the clinical social work. I did not do clinical social work. I focused on macro social work, which is communities and organizations. So I actually think what I do today fits very well in with that degree. My first year, I was just learning a lot of vocabulary, and I remember thinking, like, what am I doing with all this? But then I realized that having that language, having understanding, the idea of holding space, how do you engage with people? How do you disengage with people? How do you create not just inspiration, but action? I do think that I am using that degree, which is nice to know, considering how much I spent in not just tuition, but in loans.
Yeah. Well, and
I'm not the only one, right?
One of the first things you taught us is where to look. You know,
Yeah.
we want to look at ourselves. We're drawn to ourselves, but you taught us, look at the camera and how important it is to connect and not be over here looking at the audience on a different monitor. So that was powerful. What do you think the most recent update to Zoom that has made your work easier?
Oh, I actually, you know, earlier I couldn't think of an answer to this. I just thought of one and I haven't used it yet, but I have the possibility of using it with a client. The fact that you can now make breakout rooms based on how people answer a poll. Oh my gosh,
Well,
because I have done manual assigning of 200, 300 plus people to get them into individual breakout rooms, no more than 10 with an assigned facilitator. It's possible. I can do it. But then, as I mentioned in the book, I then had the added element of each person had to choose one of 6 topics. Well, now we can just have people choose one of 6 topics in a breakout, in a poll, and then I would be able to finesse the rooms from there so that they can early on like pick a room, and then I can take a few minutes while they're getting instruction to like figure it out. So I have to see it in action to see like how, you know, how much a kerfuffle it'll be behind the scenes. But I think that particularly when it's not, you know, hundreds of people, it'll be a very, very valuable tool. For instance, for coaches, like you want people of a similar level of experience, or maybe who are having a similar challenge, or people who are using a similar software, right? Or whatever it is, you don't have to do all this manual assigning. You can just be like, choose this. And unlike let participants choose room, you can cap each room. So you don't end up with like one room with 40 people and one with 3. You could balance it out. Yeah. So that was
cool.
one of the things I actually learned about as I was investigating what the newest stuff was writing the book. That was one of the features that they rolled out in the last like 3 months as I was writing this book. So very excited.
Amazing. Speaking of polls, why don't we take one right now? Because I was curious about what the accurate point of view is that people see. How do they see your book?
I have to say the reviews that have been coming in have been fun. And you'll see the question is, how would you describe Break Out of Boredom? I've seen all of these different words and I'm curious, pick one. And if you can't pick one, then you can always say, I can't choose. And if you have a different suggestion, choose, I have a different suggestion, and then write your suggestion in chat. But you know, this is a little bit of market research because I'm going to see what you all say. And I'm going to try to use that in my language going forward, because many of you said, this is the blank that you must read. This is the must read blank. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could really be a little more locked in on that. So I like to do 70% response or 2 minutes. So we're just going to wait 20 seconds here. I think we have 60% of the people. That's good. Hey, Gina, only 20 people have fallen asleep so far. That's not so bad. I mean, I think in the
knock your,
so we should
knock
do the
your
elbows.
neighbors.
Let's do knock your neighbors, everybody. Wake them up. Poke the person next to you. Oh, that actually is working. That's good. All right. So I'm going to count down from 10. I love Amanda Gibson says, I truly think the value of this goes beyond Zoom. It's the fix for terrible meetings. Yes, it is true. It can be applied to so many different types of meetings. All right, I'm going to close this up and we'll take a peek at the results. All right, if you have other things you want to add, you can throw it into chat. It looks like Zoom Bible and I can't choose are up high there. It's so funny. Yeah, very valuable for classrooms as well. So this is great. No one thinks of it as a textbook. That's good because textbooks sound dry and boring. I threw that in there. Just no one called it that, but I thought I had to slip something in just to trick you up. It didn't work though. Didn't work. So reference manual is also something a lot of people said in Zoom guide. So well, this is very interesting. I really totally appreciate this. And now we want to do a picture. I didn't forget, Gina. I didn't forget. All right, Gina, you are awesome. I'm going to take you out of here. Folks, sit up a little straighter, sit up a little taller, get yourself situated here. I'm going to do a couple of screenshots. By now, you all know where the camera is. Hopefully, it's about level with your eyes. If we were in person, I would tell you to get closer together and put your drinks down, but you stay where you are, 6 feet apart and then some. Everyone look at the camera. We're going to do a countdown. I'll do a couple of shots because I'm going to go to the next screen. 3, 2, 1, cheese. Fantastic. I think no one blinked. And then we've got this screen as well. Oh God, I'm seeing all these wonderful people that I know from all these walks of life. 3, 2, 1, cheese. You all look good. By the way, if you look, I did a whole, it's one of the most popular videos. I did a whole thing about taking group photos, and it's my most popular photo Zoom video on YouTube. I think because people were like, you could do what? And basically I was doing screenshots. But the earliest one, none of us, we weren't really looking at the camera. We were all sitting really casually. No one was sitting up straight. Like, I didn't know to bring people together for that moment. Still a great photo. Yeah, Kelly, I agree. I'm not going to probably use Bible. It's not really my thing, but I'm probably going to be going with Zoom Guide. I'm thinking I will have to see how that all fits. All right. So Gina, please put your information in chat. Sophie and Dorothy, please do the same. People are asking questions about how to find you. We're now going to turn things over to the rest of you. If you want to share something about your experience with this book, if you wouldn't mind using the raised hand feature, and then we'll kind of call you up. I'm going to make it so people can unmute again. So I'm looking for some raised hands in chat. So go ahead and click on the reactions button down here on the bottom right. Notice which hand I'm using. It's my left, and I'm pointing down on my left, and it's your right. Did that part blow your mind? Did anyone get really lost? Okay, Julia is here. So Julia, while you're coming in here to share, go ahead, folks, and use the raised hand function that's queued up behind her. Julia, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, one interesting thing is that your discussion of why don't call it a webinar. And my first thought is, oh, well, that's because people think, oh, it's just some boring thing that has no interaction, or they're just trying to sell me something. But it wasn't about that at all. It was about, if you call it a webinar, then people are like, Zoom webinar, I don't need to have my camera on. I can be half paying attention. I can be doing my email. But realizing that this series of events that I started doing they are not webinars. They are on Zoom meeting. And we do want people to have their camera on and to interact and to ask questions after the presentation. So I am now calling them workshops, and the next one's in a couple of weeks. And I think workshop is really better anyway, because for all those other reasons, but that's just like a little thing. And then you had some ideas about really how to close off the thing and do Q&A. And I'm like, okay, I need to look back at that again before I do the next one and follow your advice. So thanks, Robbie.
I love that. And by the way, I see Gina and Sylvia going like this. Gina Glover, I see you. And Sylvia Scott, you're nodding along. You're nodding along. So I'm not seeing anyone else with their hand raised. We've got time for a few more people to share something that they got from the book. It could be a little technique. It could be something like what Julie just shared. Oh, here comes Brenda Marie. Brenda Marie, let's bring you on here. Brenda Marie, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Robbie. I just wanted to say that your concept of the 5% improvement, which it's in the book, but it's everywhere with you, it's an inspiration, because if we can improve 5% every time in our business, in our Zoom, then we can improve 5% in any other areas of our lives as well. And I think that's something that I'm striving for on an ongoing basis. And so I want to thank you for making it seem possible.
What's funny about this is sorry, now I'm putting too many people in here. Hold on, I'll do this and I'll put myself in. Here we go. And then I'll bring you in a second, Gina. So my wife heard the name of the program. She heard that it was called the 5% Advantage Program. I tell the story all the time. And she said, why would anyone want to get only 5% better? And I was like, oh, no, not like ever. Every time you host or speak on Zoom, you strive to do that little thing that gets you 5% better. And I didn't at the time, Brenda Marie, I didn't know the idea of Kaizen, Kaizen, which is a very old Japanese concept. Way old. This is about a continuous improvement. And I believe we all can do that. If you want to ratchet it down to 1%, I mean, there's people that say you get 1% a day better at something. Oh my gosh, where would you be a year from now? So thank you so much for bringing that one to our attention. I love it. All right, Gina, now I'm going to officially bring you back up on the stage. Welcome.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. And this book has been such a gift. You had me right when you said, let's do this, right? But once I started reading, right, I'm third chapter in, and you're really talking about facilitation techniques. And when you got into answering questions, like how to have people ask questions, everybody just go ahead and unmute. I was like, ah, that was like, I was just smitten with that concept, because we would never, ever think to do that in a live session. We'd be fools to do that. Yet we do it, or people do it all the time in Zoom. And it's just, well, a cluster, right? So I just appreciated that you said, like, no, you don't do that. This is how this works. And it really helped us handle the Q&A in a setting that sometimes somebody can take over the talk, and all of a sudden you've lost your inspiration, you've lost your energy because some Yahoo had to keep talking. I don't want to be that Yahoo, so that's all I want to say, but it's awesome.
The unofficial subtitle of this book is Robbie's Pet Peeves and How to Avoid Them. I have basically made a business of trying to get people to stop doing things. Thank you. I think Julia's got the little thumbs up sign. I just think that, and I'm looking for more hands raised, folks, while I'm bantering here with you, Gina. I think that we all have had those moments where things go off the rails. We don't know why it didn't work. And so thank you for bringing that up. In so many ways, like I said, like these things that we can do in person, I actually have found some of this is easier in a virtual space. So for instance, there's that piece about how to politely interrupt. You could try this in person, but sometimes in person, there's one microphone and Bob has it and Bob's telling a story. And that's hard. That's hard because you don't have another microphone. There's no socially smooth way of doing that per se. It's a lot of gentle. Bob, did you have a question? And like Bob's not listening to you because you don't have a microphone. Here, we all have a microphone. Not everyone has a big microphone like I do, but everyone's got a microphone. And so, yes, the ability to interrupt politely on purpose. I always use Bob as my example because it's Bob. I apologize to Bob's of the world. I apologize to the Bob's of the world, but it's like Q&A starts and Bob has not a question, but a story about what he is, and you're like, we only had 5 minutes, Bob. All right, so we still have time for maybe one or two quick reflections. Anyone else want to chime in? Again, using the raised hand chat in Zoom would be the way to get in here. Oh, I see someone's raising their hand. Julianne, welcome. Hello, Julianne. Thanks for joining us.
I have to unmute myself. Sorry. I think I agree with Gina about her reflections on the online facilitation. That was probably one of the biggest things for me because I saw a lot of value in the book for people that are online facilitators as well as virtual facilitators. One of the things that really grabbed my attention from a Zoom perspective was I love the idea of using the waiting room as a way to prepare people for the actual session. And I love the idea of putting a video in that room so that people could maybe get familiar with the Zoom tool before they come in. So you're not using up time while everybody is in the session to show them how to use Zoom. I thought, wow, why didn't I think of that before? But what a great way to do that. That was really great. Thanks so much, Robbie.
Fantastic. Thank you. I saw a moment ago, I saw Tony had a hand raised. Tony, you still available? We'll see if Tony wants to jump in. I now don't know whether Tony is actually available or not. He's unmuted. I'm going to give him a chance. Let's see. Tony, you want to join us? All right. Tony is no longer available. Tony, yes or no? Yeah. Oh, go for it. Go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, the reason I put my hand down, Robbie, is because it was more, my sense was.
Your internet's a little bit wonky here, Tony. So why don't you throw an idea into chat and we'll be able to call it out that way. All right, we'll kind of bring this back in. We're about a moment away from when I'm going to actually bring Amy back up to do another exercise, and then we're going to do the prize wheel, and then I'm going to close out. Before I close out my section here, I'm going to mention this again at the end, but there are two upcoming events related to this launch. One is a public training. Now, we did a private training called Low Tech Solutions for Highly Engaging Zoom. And that private training took place a couple weeks ago. We had 107 people attend, which was wild, out of 150 who signed up, which was really cool. This time, anybody's welcome. They do not have to be a launch team member to come. I would really encourage you to bring it to everyone's attention. The second event is May 23rd, and that is just for launch team members. That is my book launch strategies masterclass. And so if you are really curious how I got, several hundred reviews by the time May has come, we're aiming for 300 plus by the end of May, folks. I keep ratcheting it up because, you're all making me feel hope. If you want to know the behind the scenes, both the mindset and the value proposition and the technical piece of how I'm doing all these behind the scenes pieces. And by the way, it's me. If you hit a reply and you're asking a question, I'm responding. That's me. Morning to night. I am trying to personalize this for you as much as possible. And it's helped me rekindle some wonderful connections, which is one of the reasons to do a big book launch, is to wake up your network and reconnect with a really cool and amazing people. So they can join the launch team if they want to attend that masterclass. So the launch team link is at the bottom of my message. I see your question here, Shannon. It's robbiesamuels.com/breakout launch. You're basically committing to writing an Amazon review. And I want to point something out before I bring Amy back. It's not that you wrote and posted a review that gets you all these benefits. It's that you committed to writing one, because I'm not exchanging a gift for your review. That is against Amazon policy. But your commitment and willingness to write a review, I'm honoring that by giving you all kinds of extra goodies. All right. With that, I want to bring Amy back up here to close us out with another really cool exercise. Amy, welcome back.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, it is so fun to hear like all the impact that you've had, Robbie, from writing the book, as well as everything you've been doing for the last 3 years. So thank you, Robbie, and everyone who else has shared. So many of you have read the book, and some of you are going to read the book. Either way, wherever you are on that spectrum, the question I have for you is, don't put this in the chat, but we're going to use virtual climber cards, is how are you feeling about Robbie's book? So we're going to put a link back in the chat right now. You can scroll down. There's a bunch of feelings in here. And if you don't find one you like, there is a blank line. And click on that feeling, write in your name, and then why you chose that particular feeling. So how are you feeling about Robbie's book and why? So link should be in the chat. There it is. Click on that and share with us, how are you feeling about Robbie's book, whether you've read it or you're about to read it. Love to see what you're thinking, what you're feeling right now. I know, well, I'll just hold off on my feelings until I hear from some others. Give you all a chance. All right, words are coming in. Once you've written your response, you can, of course, see everyone else's, just like before. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Yay. Obviously, as most of you would imagine, there's some really amazing, happy, positive feelings in here. We're just going to shout out a few of them. We've got impressed, energized, courageous, curious, optimistic, refreshed, delighted, proud, inspired, elated, appreciated. Oh, I love this. Grateful, joy. Super cool. All right, keep it coming. This is all going back to Robbie. He's going to get a report from this. This app that we're using here, it's called Climber Cards. It's something I created. It actually initially started out as a deck of cards, a physical deck of cards. And then when the pandemic hit, that first couple of weeks of March, or last week of March, first couple of weeks of the pandemic, I was getting inundated by facilitators saying, how do we use your cards virtually? So I created this tool, and Robbie actually highlighted it in his book. It's in the chapter about breakout rooms. There's a whole thing in there. But if you are interested, you can sign up for a free trial, play with it. You get a full month for free. And then it's actually really inexpensive, even though I will say it's really expensive to run on this end. But there's a 10% coupon in there for your first payment. So if you sign up for yearly, you get a full 10% off that whole year. If you just sign up monthly, you get 10% off that first month. And Robbie gets a little kickback too, because you could show Robbie some love.
Oh my
All right,
gosh.
thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Amy. That's one of 2 resources in that chapter. I mentioned the other one was Ask Deep Questions, which is a physical deck of cards to help get ideas from my friend Jan Keck. They're great for breakout rooms. So I'm really glad I got to feature these 2 amazing thought leaders in this space around virtual engagement. Well, speaking of virtual engagement, we're up to it. This is the time to spin the wheel. Just so everyone knows, I've got these 2 pristine. I wouldn't let my kids touch these. This is the only, I have one that's been sort of opened and handled, and these are pristine. And you can tell they're proofs because across the front it says not for resale. So there's only 3 of these in the world. I will keep 1, and 2 will be sent off signed. And I am not able to do lots of other signed copies because it is a lot. It is a lot, but I would encourage you to go get a physical book, and I'm going to be, I bought 100 of them to be shipping out. I've got these, I'm actually take the screen off for a second. I've got these cool, and look, it matches the color of the book. Do you see how nice I did that? So I'm going to be shipping these out to various association leaders and et cetera, organizations. If you have any suggestions on where I should send a book, please let me know. All right, back to spinning this wheel. So this is going to be for 1 of 2 signed books, and they do not have to be present to win. We're going to take note of who they are, and then I will reach out to them to get their information on who and where to send the book. Oh, Carrie McGuire. Awesome. Thank you so much, Carrie, for signing up. I don't know if she's here. Give her some love in the chat. All right. And then this is the last one we're going to do. Here we go. Ooh, ooh. Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. Amber lives in Spain.
I'm here. Great. I'm so excited. I can give you a US address. Yeah, I'm here. No, I'll give you a US address. I'll be there in the summer in Massachusetts.
Oh my gosh, you're even better. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was like,
no worries.
I'm going to ship this overseas. Careful what you agree to, people, in physical format. Amber was my my first Amazon.es review, which was very cool. I have reviews in the Netherlands, UK. I have none in Germany right now, so I'm looking for that. Tons in Canada. Y'all Canadians love what's going on in this book. Very cool. You're going to actually see reviews. I'm pulling sentences from these reviews over the next few weeks. Please indulge me as my social feed is all going to be all reviews for the next. I feel like the month of the launch, you're allowed to do that. So until the end of the month, I'm going to just be putting out reviews of what people have said about the book. If your review is not already in, I would really encourage you to do so. I have shared a couple times earlier. There is, to make my life easier, I'm going to answer this question that I think has come in before. Why am I collecting reviews in advance? I'm not editing or proofreading or anything like that. Not all of you will have your information match. So if it just comes in and it says like Amazon customer, but I already know the name of your, I already know the details, then I'm able to match it if I know the text that you had sent in. So that's why I asked people to send the review. It also gives me hope that I've got more reviews still yet in the pipeline that need to be submitted. So I just dropped it in chat again. The $2.99 I'm going to keep up until about the 27th, I think, 27th of the month. So for about 2 weeks from now, the $2.99 is available. And then I've changed my mind. It's going to go to $9.99, not $14.99. And I'll tell you a little more about this during the debrief, but the percentages of what you make change, and it's not worth it to charge the extra $5. I actually make less money per book, and you pay more and more money per book. So I went back to $9.99. So it'll be $2.99 until then, and then $9.99. And of course, the paperback's there for $29. Thank you, everybody. We're going to officially say goodbye, but I'm happy to hang around and chat with anyone who wants to stick around. I want to say thank you to Amy, Sophie, Gina, Dorothy, Paya, and all the people that I acknowledged in the back of the book, and all of you for being here, hanging out to the end. Appreciate you all so much. Cheers.